Hello friends, welcome back to Belle's Library. I'm Heather, and today I'm here with some recommendations as well as some of my TBR for the Trick-or-Treat-a-thon. Now, if you are not participating, well, you should be. I will link my announcement video down below that has the Discord and just all the information about the readathon. But regardless, if you don't want to participate, it's all good, I understand. Not really, but I do. This video still should have some really great books in it that maybe you can fill in other prompts for other things, or you just want to check out some fun, like spooky season reads that I'm going to be reading soon or recommend. I mean, it's going to be full of a bunch of really great books. So you can still stick around and watch and get some great ideas for this next spooky season coming up here. Before we jump into all of that though, I would love to have you guys join this family, so get down below and subscribe if you haven't. I also have my Instagram and my Goodreads and the story graph down there, so we can talk bookish on all those different platforms. So just head on down there and do that real quick, and then let's go ahead and jump into all of the fun here. So basically what I'm doing, I have my bingo board made here for the Trick-or-Treat-a-thon, and each of these numbers correlates to a specific prompt that I am trying to fill so I can make some bingos. And so I'm going to go through my bingo board that I made. There are pre-made ones, or you can make your own, and I'm just going to do the prompts on there because there's 40 prompts and I'm not going to go through all 40, but out of these 24 I will give a TBR book that I'm thinking I might read for the month. I'm not going to read 24 books, so but it gives me some options. And then I also will give you guys a recommendation of a book that I have read that would fill the prompt as well. So starting at the top, we have prompt number 29, which is Double Trouble, and you're to read a book with twins in it. So the book that I have on my TBR for this is Girl, Serpent, Thorn by Melissa Bashardoust. And this one, I was planning on trying to read this book in October anyways, and when I was trying to fill the prompts, I was like, oh, look it. I've been looking everywhere for these. They're my like punishment prompts for Belle's Bookland. I haven't been able to find them, and they were in this book. Anyways, I opened up the book and was like trying to read the synopsis, and I realized that there was twins, and I was like, oh, well, this is perfect. So from what I kind of understand of this story is that we're following a princess who has poisonous touch. So she stays hidden away in the castle, and then the day of her twin brother's wedding, she has kind of a decision to make. There's apparently some kind of monster that she can seek out to find out more answers, and some kind of other mysterious boy giving her some looks like, come with me. So is she gonna venture out into the world or stay hidden away? Is she a princess or a monster? It's kind of the vibes we got there. Now my recommendation for this one is a book I read recently, and it is Truth or Beard by Penny Reed. This is a really fun romance that is perfect for fall. I feel like, I don't know why, it just gives the fall vibes. These dogs are driving me crazy. Okay, so in Truth or Beard, we are following this girl, I think her name was Jessica, and she basically has, since she was a teenager, been totally in love with Bo. I'm not great with names, but I think it was Bo. Anyways, one of the twin brothers, and she comes back to town after going to college, and she's working, and she sees him at like a community event, thinks it's him, but it's actually his twin brother Dwayne, and they have kind of a moment and a little bit of a kiss, and then she realizes that it's Dwayne, not Bo, and she just like totally is like, wait, what? Maybe I'm actually into Dwayne, and it's kind of their little romance. It was really cute and fun, and I loved it. So I can't wait to continue the series, but we do have twin brothers, so it works for this prompt. Okay, so the next one is number 35, Festival Food. And for this one, we need a book with food on the cover. I am going to be reading In the Market for Murder by T.E. Kinsey. This one is, I think, like a cozy mystery. I don't know a ton about it. So it looks like Lady Cardcastle and her maid are amateur sleuths, and they are gonna look into the death of this farmer. And that's kind of what we got going on. But we definitely have some pie And it looks like mushrooms on the cover. So some food stuff going on. Then we have my recommendation is, if I can get it out of here, with the Fire on High. We have lots of food, not only on this part of the cover, but also the naked part. Elizabeth Acevedo has gorgeous writing. I love her books. They are amazing. And this one we're following, is it Amoni? Yes, Amoni, and she is a single mom in high school, and she is trying to do the best she can to raise her daughter, but also she really wants to become a chef, and they have this really cool program at her school where she can study culinary arts and also take a trip. And so she's kind of balancing these two worlds, and it's really wonderfully, beautifully written, and you really feel for Amoni and what she's going through and just connect to her, and it's just wonderful. So I highly recommend this one. Plus, I feel like school vibes, because she kind of goes, you know, she's in school most of the time, and she's going through her senior year. I feel like fall, like going to school, that just, it's a thing, okay? It's a vibe. Number 11, Grimm is the next one. So read a Grimm or dark twisted fairy tale. And I have a Spindle Splintered. So this one's by Alex E. Harrow, and I basically know almost nothing about this. I just know that it's a Sleeping Beauty retelling. That's what I got. That's it. Now, my recommendation for you guys is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. I actually did a video where I was doing a bunch of Beauty and the Beast retellings in my fairy tale battles. And so I'll link that vlog up top, but this is one of them. So this one we're following. So on this one, we end up with this girl. She gets kidnapped into another world, and then she basically needs to fall in love with the prince to break the curse. Beauty and the Beast-ish. It's fun. And this world, you know, is cursed by this beast, basically, that comes out and kills people and ravages the town, and they've been dealing with this for quite a while. So this is kind of a fun, dark, twisted fairy tale that definitely could work for this prompt. So moving on, we have prompt number 38, which is pumpkins. So you have to read a book with pumpkins on the cover or in the title. And this one, I am going to be reading possibly in the bake shop. What is it? The bake shop at Pumpkin and Spice. And so this one has like major fall vibes. Like it's basically set in this little small town with, you know, the pumpkin spice lattes, all the good goodies, a big old Halloween parade, just all the fun stuff going on that's like perfect for a Halloween or fall type book that you're wanting to get into. And it looks like we're following 3 Moonbright residents looking for love. And so I'm guessing there's gonna be some kind of romance mixed in here, and it just seems super cozy and sweet. So I am all for that. Now my recommendation is The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. I read this last year, and it's basically set on Halloween night, and we're following these, I think it's 3 or 4 teen boys, and they get pulled away on Halloween night, basically, and they learn about kind of the origins of Halloween, and just like get pulled in by these other monsters, and they have to kind of get away from them, but they're pulled back in time. It's very like interesting, and it's like a fun way to tell the story of Halloween, basically. And so yeah, it was a good time. I would definitely recommend it. All right, next up we have number 37, which is Do You Want to Play a Game? And it's supposed to have some kind of deadly competition or game within the book. For my TBR, I have the Inheritance Games by Jennifer Barnes, and this is just like a fun one. It kind of makes me think of the Westing game, but basically this girl inherits like this billionaires, all his money, his estate, like all this stuff, but she has to go and stay with the family that he basically cut off and didn't give them anything for, I think, like 6 months or something. But he liked to like play games while he was alive, so there's other like stuff going on, and I'm also gonna guess that there's some other dramatics going on with the family that just like got burned, and she's like, why me, what's going on? So that sounds really fun. And then my recommendation is The Night Circus by Erin Morganson. So this, we're following 2 magicians who basically were raised to have a competition, but they don't know anything about each other or what the competition is or anything like that. So they're kind of involved in this deadly competition that they don't fully know anything about, and they have this circus that basically they created, and it is magical, beautiful, wonderful. Like, the displays that they put on in the circus are just so well crafted. Like, oh my gosh, this is one of my absolute favorite books ever. And it's, about this traveling circus that shows up. You never know when it's going to show up, and there it is. And also this battle between magicians, and it is beautiful. So next is number 13, which is Chill in the Air, and we're basically going to be reading a book that's set in like wintry, snow, cold type stuff. So my TBR is One by One by Ruth Ware, which is this mystery where this tech company that are developing this app, they go out to stay on a resort together and do some skiing and different stuff while they're working on this and have some team building, but somebody ends up dead. And I don't know if people continue to end up dying or it's just the one person where we're trying to figure out who it is. But yes, kind of a murder mystery, whodunit type thing. So excited to try out a Ruth Ware. Haven't done that yet. And that one sounds like more mystery, which is kind of what I'm looking for, less thrillery. And then my recommendation is more of a thriller, which is No Exit by Taylor Adams. This one, we are following this girl who's trying to get home, and she gets stuck at a rest stop in the snow. Like, there's just a huge blizzard and she can't get through, she can't go anywhere, and she's stuck with like 5 or 6 other people. And she steps outside to make a phone call, and she sees this like hand in the back of this guy's van, and this kid like is locked up back there. So she's trying to figure out who the heck did it, how to help this person. Like, oh my gosh, it's just quite the thrilling ride. Next up, we have number 8, which is Squirrel Cache, one of the oldest books on your TBR. So this I kind of took it as like old as in the year it was published, old. And so on my TBR, I have It by Stephen King. This is quite the chunker, so I think I'm going to try and read this book first to kind of get it out of the way, because it is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, book on my TBR. And this one, obviously, we're following this group of kids, and I know the Pennywise, this clown, is like ravishing the town, and they're trying to take down this crazy monster clown thing, and that's basically what I know about it. So that one was published in 1986. My recommendation for you guys is The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie, which was published in 1926. And I read this one recently and adored it. It's kind of got me into an Agatha Christie thing, and I kind of just want to read all her books. But it was such a good time. We're following this guy who gets some weird news, and then he ends up dead later that night after telling the doctor about it. And we're trying to figure out who did it within either his household or the small community that he's in. And this one's a Hercule Poirot mystery. So that one's really fun. Spells is the next one. It's number 32. And this one, you can either read a book of poetry, mixed media, a short story collection, comic, manga, or a graphic novel. So stuff that's maybe a little bit shorter and easier to get through. So this one on my TBR, I have Pumpkinheads, which I've read the last 2 years, and I just really love reading this one. It gets me in the fall mood. It's just about these 2 friends who have worked at the pumpkin farm for like years, and it's their last year they're going to be doing it because they're seniors, and they decide they're going to hit all the stops all night long, and we get to just see them go through and just have fun and just check out all these different, the fudge factory and the hayride and just, I don't know, all kinds of fun stuff. So it just gives me all the fall vibes, and it's fun to get into the season, and it's just a quick read. So that is what I have for my TBR. My recommendation for you guys is The Girl from the Other Side by Nagabe. This is a manga series, and you're basically following this young girl and then this like kind of monster being who are stuck on the other side from civilization. Basically, they're considered the people on the other side. The girl got like left behind from her aunt, and she is waiting for her aunt to come back and get her. And in the meantime, this monster is taking care of her, and you're kind of learning about how this world ended up like this, and then also following their relationship, which is super cute. So we've got kind of this horror aspect to it, but also like this really sweet relationship as well. Moving into number 18, we have Costume Contest, which is to read a book with an award on the cover. So I am putting Your Welcome Universe on my TBR. This one has the Schneider Family Book Award, which I think has to do with people who are deaf, because it's got like the little braille, and this has to do with that as well. So this book, we're following this girl, and she gets herself into trouble because she is tagging a building, I believe, and basically that's how she expresses her art, but obviously it's technically illegal. So her parents decide to send her to the mainstream school in their area instead of the deaf school that she was going to, and so she's got to adjust and just kind of that journey, I guess. So that is what this one's about. But it sounds really interesting, and I'm really intrigued by the idea of her using this art in this way. I watched a TV show that I cannot remember, but it kind of had this some similar tropes, and I adored it. So that's, I think, why I'm so intrigued by this book. And then my recommendation for you guys is A Monster Calls. We've got 2 awards here, and this book is incredible. It also has some really gorgeous artwork in it. Oh my goodness. And it's heartbreaking, so be prepared to cry. But basically we're following this kid, and this monster shows up at his window, and he says, I'm going to keep coming back each night until you can tell me your truth. And he's going to tell him 3 different stories, and by the end of that time, the boy is to tell him his truth. And it is harrowing and beautiful and wonderful. All right, what do we got next, guys? Next is number 31, Souls of the Damned, a book with reincarnation or has soul in the title. So for me, for this one, I've got City of Lost Souls, which is book 5 in the Mortal Instruments series. I'm reading through this with the Bookstara book group, and this is the one that's coming up in October. So it worked out perfect because it says souls in the title. And so yeah, this is kind of a YA fantasy. We're following these shadow hunters who can see different demons and stuff, and they are kind of the lawmakers of that world and protect people from said demons. And then my recommendation. Oh, this one I've technically only read half of, so I'm sorry, but I just was having a hard time finding something. But The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren, I'm in the middle of right now. It's really a fun romance, and I think it's really cute, and I think a lot of people would really enjoy it. But we're following Jessica, and she is a single mom. She's having a hard time money-wise, and she ends up sending in her spit. Sorry, I thought I heard a doorbell, but we don't have a doorbell, so that was weird. Anyways, to this app where they genetically match you with someone, and she gets genetically matched with the maker of the app. And so she is very skeptical of it, but basically they say, this is great marketing for us if you guys would just try to have a relationship and see where things go. So she's gonna get paid to basically be seen out and about, fake dating him. And so it's just their kind of cute romance, and it's going really well. The chemistry between the two of them recently in this last like 10%, it's been adorable. And the mom vibes, like as a mom, it just, some of the things she says, I'm like, yeah, yep, I totally connect with that. So it's been really fun, really cute. So I definitely recommend that one so far. Number 23 is Harvest Moon. So this is to have a moon on the cover or in the title. My TBR is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. This one, from what I understand, this kid ends up dying, but he comes back as like a ghost, and he's trying to figure out what happened or come back. But I also pretty sure that it's queer as well. That's about all I got, but there's a moon on the cover. And my recommendation is Thornhill by Pam Smee. And this one, we're following 2 different entries. We're following one from the past and one from the present, and this girl moves into this abandoned place called Thornhill, where it used to be this home for orphans, girl orphans, and for whatever reason it got shut down. And so the one girl's kind of like trying to figure out what happened to it, and the other girl was there when it shut down. So we're kind of finding out what happened back then, and each is told in a different way. So one's told through picture form and one's told through diary form. And it was just really a beautiful story, very heartbreaking in a lot of ways. But I just think it's perfect for this season. Really, really wonderful. Then we're moving into number 21, which is Change in the Air. fall colors on the cover. TBR is The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. I've been wanting to read this one for quite the while. And this one we're following this witch so witches in this world basically are a little stronger in one season of the year. So you can be an autumn witch or a winter witch or whatever. And you're a little bit stronger during that time of the year until it comes back around the next year. But we have this one witch, she is an all-season witch, or I don't remember what they call it, but basically she's capable of harnessing power within the entire part of the year, but she doesn't really want it. And so she's like, how can I get rid of this? How can I give it away? So I'm like, all the witchy vibes, and yeah, I don't know. I love it. And then my recommendation is the Coppersmith Farmhouse. Whatever it is about this cover, it just screams fall to me, and I really enjoyed this romance. It's not one of my absolute favorites, but it still was a really good time. And we're following this nurse who moves to a small town with her daughter that she's trying to get a fresh start. And she ends up running into the sheriff, and they kind of don't get along right away, but it ends up being kind of their romance. So you got kind of this small town romance, and I know this is a bigger series. I believe following more of the sheriff's family, but I'm not totally sure. I just know it's set within the small town. Number 24 is Find Your Familiar, book with familiars or an animal sidekick. So I'm going to be reading The X-Hex by Erin Sterling. What made me think this? There was something that said like there was some kind of cat or something. I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's some kind of cat that's like a little familiar to the witch in here, but I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that it works, whatever I was reading. Anyway, so in this one, this is a romance. We're following this girl. She basically hexed her ex-boyfriend when he left town, when they broke up, and now he's back to town and all these weird things are happening, and she didn't think actually anything was going to happen from it. And then I think it's kind of a second chance romance with them. So I really enjoy second chance romance, so I will take that. And then my recommendation, what did I have? The Tea Dragon Society. Oh my gosh, these little graphic novels are so cute with the little tea dragons. Oh my gosh, and they're totally like little animal psychics. Totally works. We're following like these people who basically raise these little tea dragons. They have to be done a certain way, and the cutest graphic novels ever. Just so adorable. Okay, number 27, Graveyards. Skulls or Bones on the cover. So my TBR, I put Sundial. Okay, so I put Sundial by Catriona Ward, and this one I don't totally remember very much about, but the cover's amazing. She also wrote The Last House on Needless Street, which was weird and odd, but I loved it. So I want to try something else by her. And then my recommendation is actually a middle grade. It is The Mystery of Black Hollow Lane by Juliet Noble. And this one is about this girl. She ends up going to this boarding school in London, and she basically teams up with these other two kids, and there's like this weird mystery going on in the school, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And it's cute. It's a fun little one. I enjoyed the little found family she found there and the boarding school vibes and everything. And number 20, Flirt with Danger, is to read a romance. So yeah. TBR for me is 7 Days in June. I believe I'm going to try and buddy read this with Nerdy Net Reads. So I will link her channel down below if you haven't checked her out. She is wonderful. I love watching her videos. But we had kind of briefly talked about reading that in October. So I'll have to reach back out to her. I know this is like a second chance romance. I believe that these two were together in high school, and then they ended up breaking up for some reason, and then they are reconnected, and they are trying to figure out and hash out whatever happened before to make the romance work. I've heard the romance is very sweet and like very intense. But also I believe she's a single mom, and I think they're both writers maybe. I know there's a lot more going on to the story, but it sounds really good. And then my recommendation is one of my favorite romance books, which is Well Met by Jen DeLuca. This one, it's basically we're set at this Renaissance fair, and our lovely April, she is the aunt to this girl. Her sister got in a bad accident, so she's there to help take care of her teenage daughter, and she takes her to this Renaissance fair every weekend because they need chaperones from the parents. And she is a bar wench there, and the person who runs the whole thing is a pirate while he's there, and it's their romance, and it's a total hate to love, but it is so fun, and I adored the Renaissance vibes, and I really need to continue in the series, but it's one of my favorites, so that's my recommendation. Next, we're moving on to number 40, which is Kidnapped, set outside the country you live in, or a book with someone who's been kidnapped. I put The Manning Tree, which is by A.K. Blakemore. I just know that it's set like way back in the day. We're following some like witchy stuff, witch hunt stuff, that kind of thing going on, but I don't really know much more about it. And I actually have 2 recommendations for you guys on this one. Both of these have kidnapped people going on. This one, Caraval kidnapped sister, so we have the other sister goes to this competition on this island where whoever wins, like the goal is to find the sister, like that is how you win. But there's also a lot of other magical weird things going on, and they have to figure out, they're getting all these clues and play this game to try and figure it out. So it's really just fun, magical wonderfulness. And then, that was awful explanation, but hopefully you get the gist. And then Sadie by Courtney Summers, which is one of my favorite books ever. That one is too. I love both of these. Anyways, this one we're following this girl, she gets murdered, and then Sadie ends up going missing like a year later. And so we're following Sadie when she's left. Basically, we're trying to figure out where she ended up going, but you kind of follow her perspective. And then we're also following a podcast journalist who is doing a podcast on trying to find Sadie and figure out what happened to her. And so you kind of have these tandem things going on, and the conclusion was just like, what? I need to reread this. Oh my gosh, it was so good. Then we're moving on to number 16, Lost in the Dark. Read a book with the isolation trope. My TBR is Unbury Carol by Josh Mallerman. I know this is a horror book. I'm pretty sure this lady gets like buried alive and some crazy stuff, and I'm pretty sure it's her husband, but I don't really remember a ton about it besides that. My recommendation is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. We have a whole cast of people that go out to this island. They are isolated out there because there's a huge storm and they can't get back to shore, and somebody ends up dead. And we're trying to figure out who the heck it is. Then we have number 17, which is the back to school setting. And this one, I have TBR of Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I adored The Love Hypothesis by her. I honestly don't even really know a whole lot about what this is about. All I know is we have women in STEM and romance, and it just sounds wonderful and cute, and it's pink. Like, come on, guys. Recommendation is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I love his work, so all of his work would totally work for probably some of these different prompts, but this one we're following this girl, her best friend starts acting weird, and she has to figure out how to get the demon out of her. Number 19, this one's a pretty easy one I feel like to cover, but we have Looks Like Murder, a book with a murder, so any murder mystery is going to do. I have the Thursday Murder Club on my TBR. This one we're following this group of like retired people, I think at like retirement village, that basically take on this case and try to solve a murder. I've heard it's really good though. My recommendation is The Maid by Nita Prose. This one's kind of a Clue whodunit-ish, where we have this maid, she finds a body in one of the hotel rooms, and then she's kind of suspected, and you're trying to figure out what happened in the hotel room, but you're following the perspective of this maid, and you get really connected to her, and she's very like just kind of unique in her personality. Number 15, Coven. So book with sisters or the found family trope. My TBR, I have The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana, which kind of actually goes with my recommendation. So my recommendation, we'll start there, is The House on the Cerulean Sea. This is found family like at its best. We have this social worker who basically is a social worker for orphaned magical people, and he goes out to this very secret one out on this island and just falls in love with these kids out here, and it's just, oh, It's magical and wonderful, and I loved it. But this other one sounds kind of similar, but with like witches, and we're basically following this woman who feels like she has to control all her powers. She can't let anybody know about it because it's safer that way, but then she finds out about these 3 younger witches that I think she has to go out and like teach them, and I think there's like a found family, and I think maybe a romance out there. I don't know. It just sounds basically very similar, but we're with these witches, and it just sounds so cute. All right, number 7, Boo, a book with ghosts or spirits. TBR is Hex by Thomas Old Whoville. I've been wanting to read this one for so long. This one, it's following this like town, and they're like cursed by this spirit, and she like, I don't know if she just has her mouth sewn shut or she sews other people's mouths shut, but it looks really creepy. And then my recommendation is The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. This one we're following somebody like dies, and it's like a distant relative, so we have someone going out to her house, but it's like you can only get it when it's at like low tide, and you have to take, only one person will take them out there, and it's like haunted out there, and they stay out there, and some weird things start happening. You have this woman in black out there that shows up. So weird. Number 14 is Monsters, a book with zombies, mummies, vampires, werewolves, or a Frankenstein. My TBR is House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. This one sounds kind of vampire-y, but like subtle vampire-y and weird, and we have like these blood maids, and I don't know, it just seems intriguing. And my recommendation is A Dowry of Blood, as well as, actually I have 2. So A Dowry of Blood is kind of more your vampire, where we have basically one of Dracula's like brides, and it's kind of from her perspective and her story, and she's writing a letter to Dracula, although it does not ever say that is Dracula, but beautifully written. And then I also have What Big Teeth by Rose Zabo. And this one we're following this girl who went away to a boarding school, and then when she comes back home, she basically is going to be taking over the estate for her family, but her family all have monstrous sides, including herself. So I really enjoyed that one. I think if you enjoy Shirley Jackson's work, I feel like for whatever reason, similar vibes. I think you would like that one. I believe this is my last one. You're a Monster. So number 34, From a Villain's Point of View. On my TBR, I have Malice by Heather Walter, and I'm pretty sure this is, it's like a villain origin story, or like this person's like basically told that they are going to be the villain of the story, but they're like, but do I have to be, you know, like they haven't actually gone that path, but they're told like you're gonna end up going that way, kind of thing. And then I have also recommendation. This one's a villain origin story for The Queen of Hearts, Heartless by Marissa Meyer, and how she kind of came to be. And you are set in this very Alice in Wonderland fantastical world. I love Marissa Meyer's writing because it's so accessible and easy, and you can just imagine all these things, and gorgeousness too, like so beautiful. So that was a lot of books and a lot of talking, and I think my throat is officially like done for right now. But there it is. I hope this helps you guys make a TBR for the Trick-or-Treat-a-thon, or just like find some new spooky reads for this coming season, or whenever you want to read them, to be quite honest. But if you made it all the way to the end here, and you can find maybe like a little candy emoji down below, send that to me and let me know that you've been here. Give me some recommendations that would also fit these, and other people can check them out as well, because I know there's gonna be a ton. We also have a ton going on over on the Discord, and a lot of TBRs and recommendations and stuff, so you guys can find out more there if you wish to head that way. Again, I'll have all this linked down below. But I hope you guys are having an absolutely fantastic day, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye, everybody.